Let me show you how to make your patio look as beautiful as this one. So the first step of the process is cleaning the concrete. Now this can be done by just pressure washing the concrete with a gas-powered pressure washer. Most gas-powered pressure washers are at least 3,200 psi or higher, which is enough pressure to open up the pores of the concrete and get it ready for the staining and sealing process. Now, if you have a smaller electric pressure washer, what you could do is just use an acidic cleaner like Terra Etch to etch the concrete. You just spray it down and give it a little bit of a scrub and then pressure wash it with your electric pressure washer. Acidic cleaner will help open up the pores of the concrete since the pressure washer isn't that powerful. After you're all done, let the concrete dry out for a day or two. The next step is masking any surfaces that you might be able to get overspray on. So I'm masking any walls just to ensure that there's no overspray that gets on the walls because you have to actually spray down the stain. So we want to make sure that we're covering any areas that can get overspray on them. I'm doing the masking on the day that it's drying to just kill some time while the concrete is drying, just prepare everything and get it ready for the staining and sealing process. In any horizontal areas, as you see that flagstone in the background, what you could do is you could just put cardboard over that and a couple rocks on it so it doesn't blow away. So this is the day of the staining. What you want to do is you want to clean off the concrete and just ensure that there's no dust, dirt, debris, leaves, or anything else on the concrete before we start the staining. So shake up the stain really well and you can pour it directly into the pump sprayer and just use a paint strainer as you pour it in. Now the cool thing about color mist stain is that you could mix colors together. So this is 6 parts amber and 1 part tobacco. The tobacco brown kind of darkened it up just a little bit and gave it a little bit of a brown tone to the stain. So the third step in the process is applying the stain. Make sure your pump sprayer is pumped up really well and give it a little bit of a shake and go ahead and start spraying. Now, if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm keeping the wand moving as I'm spraying the concrete stain down. I'm giving it a nice thick coat to make sure that we're saturating the concrete completely with this water-based stain. Now you might have to stop partially way through the process to pump up the sprayer a little more, and that's quite all right. So here's the trick. You want to keep a wet edge as you're working across the surface. So what that means is as you're working across the concrete, you want to work your way across at keeping that stain wet. You don't want that edge to dry and then go back over it. This can leave kind of a weird pattern on the concrete. So you don't want to take any breaks while you're actually applying the stain. You want to, as soon as you start, you want to continue until you're completely done. And the cool thing about this stain is that you really just have to do one application. A lot of other stains, you do multiple applications, but one application should give you the color that you like. And if you need to go in and spot check afterwards, you can. You might also notice that I'm holding a 5-gallon bucket in the hand that I'm holding the sprayer with. Now, what that's for is if I need to stop spraying for a moment, what I could do is just put the wand into the 5-gallon bucket so it's not dripping all over the concrete. Sometimes those drips you could see after it's dried and it might look a little funky. So just by carrying around that little 5-gallon bucket, it allows me to put the wand back into the bucket if I do need to stop to pump up the sprayer or anything else. Keep working your way across the patio until the entire patio is saturated with the stain. The final step in the process is sealing the concrete. So the color mist stain actually dries very quickly. So this is just about 2 hours after I spray down all of the stain, and the stain is completely dry and ready to seal. So I'm using barrier matte finish urethane to seal the concrete, and what I'm doing is I'm applying it with a flat microfiber mop. So I wanted to enhance the color a little bit. So what I did is I added some color prime tint into the sealer. Now what this does is it's going to just add a little bit of color into the sealer, and you mix it in and it will just enhance that color a little bit. I'm using sand in the color prime line. I really like using these fingery microfiber mops to work in that first coat. What you're doing is you're really kind of massaging the sealer into the concrete, and what it does is it's just going to really increase that bond much more than if you were to just spray on the first coat of sealer. So I'm really pulling the sealer very tight, meaning that I'm leaving a very thin coat on there. Now, this particular sealer is meant to go on very thin, and then you build up the durability by adding more coats. The motto is thin to win. But the great thing is that it dries super fast. So through this process, I actually applied 3 coats to this patio, and all in one day, and also stained it. So it's a very fast moving process. This particular patio was 550 square feet approximately. This particular sealer application process is really for any smooth concrete, whether it's just a smooth traveled concrete or diamond ground concrete. If you have a surface that might be like a broom finish concrete that's rough, you're not going to be able to use a flat microfiber mop to seal it. What you would do if you did have a broom finish concrete is just roll on the sealer, and you could just go ahead and roll on all 3 coats. Continue this process until the entire patio is sealed. Now for the additional coats, I'm going to go ahead and spray it on. Now, I don't recommend this for if you're using a really cheap sprayer. You want at least a decent quality sprayer. Obviously, I have like a pretty high-end sprayer because I do this professionally, but you could get a decent sprayer for about 30 bucks at Home Depot or someplace like that. The one I've used from Home Depot before is called a deck sprayer. I think it's around 30 bucks, and it has a nice conical tip or a cone tip, and it leaves a really nice mist on the concrete. See, if you use a really cheap sprayer, what can end up happening is they tend to drip a lot and they put down a lot of material. And once again, the sealer you want to put down very thin. So if you're spraying it down really heavy, what ends up happening is you could over apply it, which can make the sealer fail. So if you are going to spray on the additional coats, then what you want to do is you just want to make sure you have a decent quality sprayer for that process. So here's a little trick. When you go through and spray down any sort of sealer, the pump sprayers are going to add air into the sealer, which can leave little air bubbles on top of the concrete, and you don't want that. So here's a little trick. You just take a leaf blower and leaf blow it immediately after doing each section. This will pop all of those air bubbles and ensure that they don't get sealed in there or dried in there. And because this particular sealer dries so quickly, you don't want to do the whole entire patio and then just leaf blow it off. By that time, some of those air bubbles might have dried in the surface. So usually what I do is I'll just do it section by section and then go through and give it a quick leaf blow and then do the next section and leaf blow it. This will ensure a perfect sheen in the end. Continue this process until the entire patio is sealed. So usually I give it about an hour to dry in between each coat. And this is the 3rd coat. And one of the great things I really love about spray-on method of this particular sealer is that it leaves a little bit of an orange peel, which looks really nice, just as like a car's paint job has a little bit of an orange peel. It looks really nice with this matte finish sheen. And plus spraying it on does move really fast and it's really easy and not very laborious. So wow, this patio came out really nice, didn't it? With the sun shining on it, that's such a beautiful color. And here's a little example of what it looks like in the shade, and you can see the sheen a lot better from this angle, the matte finish barrier. Now that looks sweet.